begging off is what's happening.
First of all, if you guys end up on video, don't sweat it. Don't get too worked up over it. Most of the stuff that Tyler did is actually very good. He really did a nice job with this video. So on the snap infractions and stuff, about the first 14 plays are pretty easy. But if somebody has a comment, question, raise your hand. We'll try and stop it. But let's at least get through the entire segment, okay?
Raise your hand in the dark.
It's only dark down there.
Videos. This is our line of scrimmage video. And we're going to start with number 1, which is a snap infraction. And this one's pretty obvious. It's picked up by both wings and the umpire. I also want to point out the headline at the top of the screen. It throws the flag and then runs towards the referee and gives the signal. That's a great mechanic to get into practice of doing. The only time we wouldn't do that is if we had a possible false start encroachment situation in which both wings threw the flag. In that case, we'd want the wings to come together to discuss it before reporting to the referee.
What's that? Oh. I'll find a spot. How's that?
Play number 2 is another easy snap infraction. This one's again picked up by both wings and the umpire, and the wings do an excellent job of giving the signal to the referee. Play number 3 is a false start, and there's not much to say about it. This is as easy as it gets.
You okay?
Play number 4 is another easy one. The center snaps the ball late, which causes most of the team to false start.
We got the call at the center.
Play number 5 is a false start, and you're going to see the entire line false start by flinching before the snap. Play number 6 is another false start, and we're going to be watching the right tackle. And you're going to see the right tackle flinch forward, simulating action at the snap. This was correctly called a false start.
I know those guys.
Here I am.
Play number 7, we're going to have a false start by the right tight end, and he's going to lean out of his stance. Anytime that we have an offensive player falling out of their stance, we're going to want to kill that immediately and call it a false start. Play number 8 is another example of that. This one wasn't picked up, but it's going to be by the running back. And you're going to see him start to fall forward out of his stance prior to the snap. Now this was called an illegal shift, but instead we want to get the philosophy of calling this a false start and shutting it down. Play number 9 is another false start, and you're going to see the offensive player at the top of the screen there take a step forward out of his stance. This is a false start. Good job shutting it down. Play number 10. In this play, you're going to have the second receiver in on the bottom of the screen flinch hard prior to the snap. This is a good call for a false start. Play number 11 is a false start, but this one's pretty interesting because it's on the kicker. And this wasn't picked up, and I think it's because it's something we don't see every day. But you'll be able to see here once we show it again, the kicker takes 2 or 3 steps forward prior to the snap. This is a false start, and we need to shut this down. Play number 12 is going to start our encroachment plays, and these are going to go by pretty fast. This first one is pretty obvious. Play number 13 is another encroachment play. And remember that in Federation rules, the neutral zone is basically a plane of glass. So once a player crosses it or breaks it, we're going to kill it and have a foul. Play number 14 is our last encroachment play. And you can see the defender jump across neutral zone prior to the ball being snapped. This is encroachment. Easy call. Now we're going to get into our quick shift plays. Now by rule, the offense can't simulate action at the snap or do anything to cause B to encroach. And our philosophy over the past couple of years is that plays like these fall into that category and should be called false starts. So let's take a look at another one. So this one was not called, but these three players out to the right shift extremely quickly. This causes the defense to encroach. Now, anytime this happens, we're going to go with a false start. The offensive players can make this shift, but it must be done slowly and not simulate action at the snap like it does here. Play number 17 is another quick shift, and you can see here we have 4th and short, and this shift is done solely to try to draw the defense off. Now, because we're only 2 minutes in the game and the defense doesn't jump, we can go with a warning here and then flag for further occurrences. But if this occurs and the defense jumps, no matter when it occurs during a game, we're going to call it a false start every time. Now we're going to move into our illegal shift plays. And this first one is a fairly common occurrence. You're going to see the back go into motion, and while he's in motion, the entire line goes down into their 3-point stance. This is an illegal shift, and it was called here. Now, for the offense to do this legally, this back must now reset before the snap.
Also watch him, he's going forward at the snap, so kind of keep that in mind too. You had two different things.
19 is another illegal shift. This time we have the second receiver in from the top of the screen is not able to get set before the receiver at the top goes in motion, and because of this, it's an illegal shift, and it was picked up here. Moving on to play number 20. And when it comes to illegal shifts, it's important to remember that at some point prior to the snap, all 11 players must come set for 1 second. And in this case, the receivers at the top of the screen aren't able to get set. This was called for an illegal shift, and it was a good call. Play number 21 was also picked up for an illegal shift. You're going to see the back go in motion, and just before the snap, the quarterback also takes a couple of steps backwards. These two players moving together before the snap is what causes the illegal shift. Play number 22 is another illegal shift. And the main thing that I want to point out here is that the quarterback going underneath the center is also considered a shift. So if we have this man in motion and the quarterback going under center at the same time, this is an illegal shift. Now this was very early in the game, so you could start with a warning here and then flag future occurrences.
In varsity football, we call it the first time.
Play number 23 is...
It's also a point of emphasis this year, guys.
From last year. And
Watch
it's
this.
pretty obvious. You can see number 6 clearly cuts up prior to the snap. The headline is able to pick it up. Good call.
Is this 23?
This is 23. Let's stop it after this play. Watch this. Okay, we want to discuss this.
Now we have a few illegal formation plays. Let's stop the first one and take a look at the formation.
Remember what we talked about at the beginning. Anytime an action simulates a snap, this is not one of those banana hooks. We're just slowly kind of coming around. This kid's actually taking a step forward. We want to shut that down because he's simulated a snap. Okay?
Let's rewind and show that play again, because when you watch it the first time, you can say, yeah, it was going forward to the snap and it seemed like the legal motion is correct. This is one that at other classes and during the day today, there was quite a bit of discussion on.
This is not going to be fun.
Yeah, here it is. This is it.
Play number 23
watch number
is the
6.
only illegal motion I was able to get from last year.
Is this a hard or
And it's
abrupt
pretty
snap?
obvious. You can see number 6
See that where
clearly
it does a
cuts
little
up
stutter
prior to the
step?
snap.
You're going to see it again.
The head linesman's able to pick it up. Good call.
Watch number 6. See how he does that stutter step?
Now we have a
That
few
is
illegal
considered to be
formations.
abrupt. Okay? So in that scenario, instead of being a live ball foul for going forward at the snap, that one is determined that we want to be a false start because he cut up hard toward the line of scrimmage as opposed to gradually starting to head that direction. So in that one, we're going to recommend that type of stutter step. Abrupt movement forward is he missed the snap count. I mean, think about it. He missed the snap count. That's a false start, kill it now, versus flag and let the play go.
Any questions, guys?
Please. Let's stop the first one and take a look at the formation. We have 2 receivers off at the top of the screen. The receiver at the bottom of the screen is also off, and the 2 backs in the backfield. That means the team can't have 7 players on the line. Good pickup here. Play number 25 was called illegal formation. Now, our philosophy when it comes to illegal formation is that if it's obvious and there's visual space, we've got 2 receivers off at the top of the screen.
You see it? Know what you were looking for?
You've got 2 backs. Bottom of the screen, you've got a flanker who's clearly off the line. That's 3.
Here's the line of scrimmage.
Where's your pointer?
This guy's up, this guy's up. Again, his arm.
So the 2 guys at the top of the screen are both off the line. The guy who is the closest to the sideline maybe wants to be on the line, but he's off. Look where the ball is. The ball's on the 36, and that player's behind the 35. So
The guy's punching him off, huh?
What?
The guy's punching him off, so he's off.
I agree. And so that means 2 guys off at the top, 2 guys in the backfield, and the guy at the bottom. So you got all guys off, and they flag it, it's correct. The point is, this is 6 guys on the line. Go.
The receiver at the bottom of the screen is also off, and the 2 backs in the backfield. That means the team can't have 7 players on the line. Good pickup here. Play number 25 was called illegal formation. Now, our philosophy when it comes to illegal formation is that if it's obvious and there's visual space, we're going to call it every time. And if the player's in no man's land, kind of that gray area, then we're going to make the formation legal and warn the player. And finally, if the player's already been warned and he's still in no man's land, then we're going to call it. Our final play of the tape is about line formation. In this case, we're looking at the left tackle. And his current position is a huge advantage when it comes to pass blocking. So you would be justified in making an illegal formation call here. And at the very least, it's at the beginning of the game so you can warn him. That's the end of our line of scrimmage video. Thanks for watching. And like always, any questions, comments,
Or donations.
My wife did. Is that right? Pretty big. No, we have Davey already. 4 months. All right. Congratulations. Thanks. Why all behind I think you might have commented that when I was About ready to have your baby. Yeah.
Progress and the goal line. Let's start with forward progress number 1. And forward progress is something that I feel we as officials struggle with at times. And the main thing that's important to remember is the offense always gets the furthest point before their contact is driven back. So in this case, that would be here at the 24-yard line. Forward progress number 2 is a great example of why the progress rule even exists. The line judge does a great job here of getting this progress spot, as the receiver is literally carried back behind the line of gain. And the line judge does a great job of winding for the progress and then killing the clock once he realizes the line of gain has been reached.
And on this one, you can see he's clearly given up, guys. That kind of goes to what Bob was talking about.
The next few plays are about crossfield spots. And a crossfield spot is when we have forward progress, but the official on the opposite side of the field is responsible for that spot. This allows for the official that's up close to the action to stay back out of harm's way, and also to help officiate with the players that are going to the ground. If that had happened here, the head linesman could have wound the clock from his current position where he's standing, let the action settle, and by the time he got up to where the progress spot was, all he would have to do is look across to his line judge to get the exact spot.
Okay, the other thing on that, guy.
Another benefit of getting crossfield spots,
As you can see, he's moving forward. All those players are right behind him. He's worried about a spot versus the 5 or 6 players that are now with opposite colors together. Okay? So keep that in mind. You've got that crossfield spot. You don't have to worry about it as much. Take care of your business, then move up and get your spot. Okay?
so that we can watch the players as opposed to being more concerned with the spot. So if the line judge picks up this crossfield spot, the head linesman can turn with these players out of bounds, make sure that action's clear, and then move up to get the spot.
Same thing. Watch what he does as he comes up. Gives up all those players. Okay?
Forward progress number 5 is an excellent example of crossfield spots at work. In this case, the head linesman gets the crossfield spot, and because of that, the line judge is able to stay back with the action of these 2 players. So you can see that crossfield spots provide for a smoother mechanic while also keeping the near official back in a safe position. Forward progress number 6, and at first look, this play looked like a missed forward progress call. And based on this first angle, it sure looks like it. But let's take a look at the end zone view. And from these angles, we can see that the receiver actually lost control of the ball when he was contacted, and didn't regain control until he had gotten back behind the line of gain. This was excellent focus by the headline. Forward progress number 7. Now on this play we do miss the progress spot by about a yard, and that most likely has to do with the positioning of the wing official here. Now remember that when you're a wing official and a play comes towards you, you want to retreat into the offensive backfield in order to let the play pass you. This is not only a safer position for you, but it allows you to get better coverage over the play. Forward progress number 8. And in this play we're dealing with reverse goal line mechanics. And based on our new reverse goal line mechanics, anytime we're inside the 5-yard line, the wing officials will be responsible for the goal line. So on this play we have a ball carrier that struck right at the goal line. So the question becomes, do we have forward progress here or do we have a fumble? This was ruled a touchdown on the field, but let's take a look at the end zone view. From this angle we can see that the runner is stopped right at this point and controlled by 2 players, and then the fumble occurs as he's being driven back. This is forward progress, and in this case would have been a safety on the field. Forward progress number 9 is very similar to the play before. The runner is controlled.
One of the things on that is, rather than having a 8 to 10 yard discussion, probably would have been better if both of them got together. Because if you're having that 8 to 10 yard discussion, you can get a lot of extra players getting involved and just creating you guys nightmares. So maybe just a quick get together, this is what we both had, and move on. Okay?
Controlled by 2 players and driven back about 2 yards before the ball comes loose. This play was brought back and correctly ruled as progress being stopped on the field. Now we're going to move into our down or fumble plays, and these plays at times can be the most difficult to get on the field. In the case of this play, the runner was ruled down prior to the fumble occurring, and like most of the plays they're going to follow, the alternative angle is where we can see what really happened. And from this angle, we can see that the runner's knee was down prior to the ball coming out. Down or fumble number 2 is a great example of a player being down because his forearm was on the ground. Now with plays like this, it's important to remember that the runner is down if any part of his body other than his hands or his feet touch the ground. This was correctly ruled as the runner being down on the field, and you'll see once we get to the replay that it was a great call. Down or fumble number 3. This play was ruled a fumble on the field, and based on the view you're going to see here in a second, it looks like it was correctly called. And from the replay we can see that the ball comes out just before the runner was down, and we're going to freeze it here in a second to show you exactly where the ball comes out. And you can see right here the ball's coming out and the runner is down. This is a great call. Down or fumble number 4, and this is similar to the previous play, but in this case the runner was called down prior to the fumble. And when we get to the replay, you'll see that it was extremely close, but it does look like the runner's left knee was down prior to the ball coming out.
Big money call.
Yep.
Down or fumble number 5. This play was saved for last because it's the most difficult one of the bunch. And when it comes to down or fumble, this is about as close as it gets. Now on the field, this was ruled a fumble, and the return by the defense was also brought back because the player recovered the ball while on the ground. So let's take a look at the end zone view here. And from these next 2 views, we can see that the runner was not down prior to the fumble occurring. It was very, very close, and I'm going to freeze it here with this last angle. And it does look like this ball was knocked out just before the runner's right knee was down. This was an excellent ruling by the line judge on this play. Now we just have one of these watered down plays. And in this play, the runner was not marked down just short of the 30, but was instead ruled to still be alive and was given to the 28-yard line for the spot. So let's take a look at the replay. And we can see from these angles that the runner's forearm was down just short of the 30-yard line. Now, before we get into our goal line plays, I wanted to give you your friendly public service announcement for the day, and that is to take these G goal line markers and moved them far back during pregame, much farther than shown here. The only purpose that they serve with being this close is to cause you to trip and get injured. So I encourage all wing officials during pregame to move these far back. If there's a play to the pylon here, you're going to want to be in that spot.
Back to the track, guys.
So here we have goal line number 2. And in this play, we're going to be looking to see whether the runner was down or had scored a touchdown. So let's take a look. Now, we don't have a camera angle looking straight down the goal line, but those that we do have agree with the call on the field, and that is that the runner was down prior to scoring.
Booty. Booty.
Goal line number 3. And in this play, we have a long screen play in which the back judge has to rule whether the player was down prior to the goal line. Now, the back judge does a great job on this play of being to the goal line before the runner, and also coming in hard and selling the fact that the runner was down. So let's also take a look at our views from the end zone to see definitively whether the runner was down or not. And from these angles, especially the last one here, it's fairly clear that the runner was down just short of the goal line. This was a good call.
If you're a back judge, you also want to be checking off of that wing official. You don't know whether he stepped down, so you better be looking up too.
Goal line number 4 is another very close goal line play for a back judge. In this case, we have a long running play, and the runner is ruled down just short of the goal line. So we're going to freeze it here in a second and show you exactly where the runner was down. So as you can see, the runner's forearm was down right at this point here. This was an excellent call by the back judge. Goal line number 5 is for our referees out there. And in this play, we're going to have an interception return. And the player, as he's going into the end zone, is going to let go of the ball right near the pylon. So the question here becomes, do we have a touchdown? Do we have a touchback? Was the runner out of bounds? Are we just short? So let's take a look at the replay. And based on the replay, I think it's fairly clear that the runner didn't step out of bounds prior to the step near the pylon. But once we slow it down, it looks like that the runner did have possession when he stepped out of bounds. So now the referee has to decide, was that ball across the goal line or not? Now, we don't have the view down the goal line that the referee had during this play. Wow. This shows why it's very important that the referee fade back on turnovers and beat this play. Wow. And our last play of the tape is about mechanics. And we can see here we're snapping from the 14-yard line. So in this case, our wing officials are responsible for the goal line. And because they're responsible for the goal line, it's important that they stay ahead of the play and beat it to the pylon. Now in this play, it's fairly easy to see that the offensive player did step out of bounds prior to the pylon. And this last camera angle here shows the view that the wing official would have had he been in proper position, and he could have easily ruled on this play. That's the end of our down versus fumble, forward progress, and goal line tape. Thanks for watching.
All right, guys, any questions, comments?
We'll be back in this room Tuesday. Please put anything away you got out.